It's
Yeah.
worth more than, a lot of things that we as consumers like purchase. Time is
Mhm.
something that we can't get back.
No, not at all.
Really cliche, but it's very true, and as we're moving forward, as we're like getting older, and especially as someone that's, getting more mature in life, I'm realizing that our
Absolutely.
time is so valuable and what we spend and what we do is so important to us. And spending time with family or spending time with these organizations, like it really brings fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Brings you purpose and it
Yeah.
changes you. Like it changes your heart, right?
Hello, everyone. Greetings and welcome to RAA Talks. I'll be your host today, Raihana, like rye bread. If you haven't come to me before and you're just joining us for the first time, welcome, welcome, welcome. Today I have a wonderful guest on joining me and a longtime friend of mine, Myla Razel Sarmiento. And a little bit about Myla. Currently, she serves as an attorney at Tyler Law LLP and specializes in business litigation, employment litigation, real estate litigation, and general civil litigation. Wow, that's a mouthful. She also has experience in various transactional areas of law, including but not limited to trademark applications with the USPTO and drafting and negotiating contracts. In addition to all that, Myla earned a jurisdiction, a doctorate, and master's of business and administration from University of Laverne College of Law and Business, and a bachelor's of arts and sociology from University of California, Irvine. As an active alumni, Myla is currently the co-founder and first president of the University of Laverne College of Law and Public Service Alumni Advisory Board, also known as CLPSAAB, and the CLPS Alumni Association, an affinity entity with the ULV's Alumni Association. Well, you've heard enough about that. Let's learn more about Myla and the great person that she is and dive right in. Myla, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. I am so looking forward to this conversation, waiting a long time. But before we dive in, let's let listeners know where you're diving in from.
Yeah, so I am, and I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure and honor to be able to do this. I am from Fontana, California. That's where I'm at right now, in the USA. So repping if you're not familiar with this area, the Inland Empire, in Southern California.
All right, wonderful. We got Cali Girl in the house. So, Myla, thank you for that. Is there any interesting fact that you'd like to share with listeners before we get a little bit deeper into the juicy conversation that we have coming up today?
Yeah, interesting fact. Let's see. I love the arts. So, um, you've heard my bio, my mostly academic and career background. However, I also enjoy
Oh,
dancing. I like to do hip hop dancing. I love ballet dancing. I'm actually doing that right now. I'm actually learning bachata, which
all right.
is something new for me. I've never done partner dancing before. So your girl really loves dancing. So
All right, I love me some bachata. Tell me all about it. Wow, that is so cool. Oh, that's awesome. So thank you so much for that, Myla. And we'll definitely tap into that part a little bit more in the further of our conversation. Now, speaking back to your career though, what were you talking about? How it mostly academic and law driven, but I don't think that that's where you started with law. It sounds like you had a different starting point, and if I remember correctly, you were doing some hospitality beforehand. So can you tell us a little bit about that and why you decided to shift from a prospering career in hospitality to a career in law as an attorney?
yeah, when I tell people this story, they get a little bit confused because they seem like they're
Mm.
two opposites. But I think like I'm at a place where we just have to embrace all aspects of ourselves, right? So what had happened was I went to school at UCI for sociology, and I at that time was working at a hotel, and I always had the desire to pursue law. But at that time, I was in my early 20s and I really felt intimidated. I felt that I had to be a certain way. I felt that I had to act a certain way. Even though I really enjoyed reading and writing, I really enjoyed arguments, I didn't quite feel like I fit in with that crowd. And so I kind of put that aside and was like, okay, well, what else can I do? And I just happened to be fortunate to work for a hotel that really took a liking to me. And I worked really hard. And after I graduated with my degree in sociology, my boss at that time asked me if I wanted to
Hmm.
pursue a career in sales. And I never thought I would pursue a career in sales, but I was always up for the challenge, and I thought that it would help, with some soft skills, interpersonal skills, with interacting with other humans. And so I just took up the challenge, and I ended up doing very well. After a couple of years, it's really
Oh,
hard
yeah.
in sales when you don't know how to do it. And I did develop some kind of routine. And then one day I was in my office and I was thinking about
Hmm.
what was my next steps, right? Because in this kind of organization, I would be moving up to a director position or possibly going to other properties. In hotel sales, I was mostly selling conferences to other organizations and groups. And so I literally took a moment. It was kind of like an epiphany where I was like, okay, I can go this route, or I think I was about 20 in my 20s,
Hmm.
like 25 or so. I can either go this route or I could do something completely different because I had the time. I'm not married at that time, don't have any children, and so I can kind of still
Yeah, it makes sense.
experiment. And so I thought to myself, I had a dream once before back in college, and that was to pursue law. And I then decided to test the waters first because I knew that I would have to start from the
Yeah.
ground up. And so I actually, before going to law school, actually went to
Hmm.
paralegal school before I decided to make the full jump to go to law school and then pursue this.
Oh my God. You have attacked so much, and I'm going to take this back a little bit in between and move forward and go back again with you. Oh,
Yeah.
what a journey! And let's start at the beginning of that journey. You started with this dream, and you had this dream, and you're like, well, what I heard you say was, if I'm missing something here, here, let me know. I heard you say you didn't pursue it because you were intimidated and you felt you didn't have the right fit. Well, where did those thoughts even come from? And
So,
where you felt like you weren't the right fit.
yeah, I had growing up as a child, I was growing up as a single parent household. My mom worked all the time. And so even though I did really well in school, I still had some issues inside that I needed to kind of resolve. And I still remember to this day the exact moment where I kind of stopped pursuing that career path. I was in my dorm room and I actually held two prep books, LSAT and then a GMAT. And I just, you hear the statistics, right, of getting these like high scores and,
Mhm.
having to network. And I just felt, and also what you watch on the media, and I just felt like I wasn't that kind of person. And so I just felt like, you know, this may not be the place for me just because I didn't fit in.
Mm.
And so I just kind of let that go. And so I think a balance of, my upbringing and then a little bit of like the culture at that time and the media kind of really affected me from wanting to go all in. And also, you're in your 20s, you're growing, right? You're trying to discover
Absolutely.
yourself, you're trying to fulfill your identity. So there's a lot to unpack when you're in your 20s. So that's most likely what happened at
Mm.
that time.
Well, thank you for sharing that and being so vulnerable to move up about that person's side of your upbringing. And, I think that's just how it goes to show how much we really don't value the impact of the upbringing and the influences of those around us within our inner circle, our outer circle, even the media. And you said it yourself, like those factors in combination affected your overall decision to pursue your dream. And that's not a light decision. That's a pretty huge one, right? But to put that on hold because of what others were saying about you, not knowing what you felt about yourself. And you mentioned, going forward a little bit, you said that you did the sociology gig and you worked in sales and moved your way up in hospitality and something happened years later. So you said you took a moment and just tried to like you had an epiphany. But what happened in that moment? Something must have happened to you to be like, you know, like, wake up, something didn't happen. What, wake up, man, what's going on at that
Yeah. Yeah, no, I just, I think I still remember that image. I was in my office. There was a pile of contracts on my desk. I had two monitors. At that time, my lovely secretary was in the same office as I was in, and I literally, I don't know, it just really came to me, and I was like, it was like a moment of, hey, Myla, like, do you see yourself in the next 5 years doing this, or
time?
possibly more? Or would you rather like want to pursue something that
Mm.
you enjoy? Nothing against
Oh,
like
no, not
the
at
sales
all.
career. I think sales is awesome. I still have a lot of colleagues that are still in the hospitality industry. But I think at that moment it was kind of like I a, a part of
Mhm.
myself was missing. And I'm the type of person where I'm a go-getter and I can probably make the situation fit
Mhm.
to where it needs to be fit. And so, but if I really dug deep
Mhm.
inside myself and asked myself,
Mhm.
like, do you really like this? Or is there something more? I think that's when I realized I like to read.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader. I like to write. And that wasn't what I was doing when I
Yeah.
was pursuing sales. Like I read contracts and I'm talking to people, but it wasn't the same. And so I literally took some time after that work day and just kind of self-reflected and kind of looked at my entire
Mhm.
journey up until now. And I asked myself, like, okay, but you do know if you want to go into this next season
Mm.
in your life, then it's going to come with sacrifices. It's going to come with
Mhm.
difficulties and challenges. You're not going to make the same salary as you have been. You're not
Mhm.
going to have the same luxuries. Like you're literally going to
Yeah.
start from the ground up. Because I grew up
Mhm.
basically like taking care of myself and, you know, working my way through college. And I knew that if I were to do this next career, that it was going to be a big sacrifice on my part. And so that's probably why I went to paralegal school first, because the insecure and intimidated Milo was still there, but I had to go and do little steps in order to overcome like the bigger fears and challenges that were still plagued in my mind.
Wow. Well, again, so much impact again. And I'm going to take us back a little bit before. I probably need to stop in between before we continue. So I don't do this again.
No, feel free to start it anytime.
So it's just so like the way that you're capturing that story and reliving that moment. It's like, I don't even want to stop you because it's such a powerful experience that I want users to really grab and feel that emotion and just, I don't want to stop you. So I want them to understand the thoughts behind it all. So I'm not doing that, but I do want to talk about one thing that you just mentioned, and you said that you were you were intimidated. That intimidated Milo was still there, and even before that, you mentioned something was missing. So let's talk about that first. When you said something was missing, and you asked yourself those questions, it sounded like you were starting to listen to that intuition, that inner self that tells you, Myla, this is what you should be doing, this is what you should be staying away from. And it sounds like that voice over time became stronger and more confident. And she was just talking a little bit louder to you that day, probably at that time saying, hey, you sure you want to be doing this? And then you're like, well, it sounds like part of you was like, yeah, I don't want to do this. I want to do something else. And the outer other critic part of you was like, well, you're still not gonna make it through. And I'm just wondering, between those two voices, what really helped you is kind of quiet that side that was critiquing you and saying, no, you can't do it, so that you can fully trust that intuitive side and listen to that voice and elevate it to, carry you through that decision that your heart really wanted to follow.
Yeah, no, I think that the breakdown that you just mentioned is really great to talk about. I, so when I was working in sales, I was also
Hmm.
intimidated too, and I had large sales goals, like we were
Oh,
talking
wow.
about in the millions. And as someone that just graduated from college not knowing how to do sales. I knew how hotels worked. I know I worked in many of the frontline positions, like the front desk, the receptionist, banquet server positions, but I never got the opportunity to do anything in sales. And so I think that nothing is ever wasted and that we go on these journeys to help develop character. And I think that's what happened. And so I still remember driving on in the freeway. And so in that car ride, I was crying because I did not make it with my goals for I think for the first or second quarter or whatnot. And so that realization of failure came to me like, oh my goodness, if I don't make my goals, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Am I going to have, a job? Are they going to fire me? Like all of those negative thoughts started to kick in. And I think like I'm the kind of person where, yes, like that does like come out, but I also know that there's also another side. I think I was reminded that from past experiences too, that not all things are negative, that we have to remember that there are also positives. I think I read somewhere that, for every negative, try to have five positives. And it's so true because if we listen to that negative voice, it will, I feel, deter us and have us take a step back. And so, yeah, there was these, I think like when I was in that moment and I was hearing those negative voices telling me, hey, it's going to be hard. Hey, what are you doing? Are you crazy? Like, you're going to have to start from the ground up. I was reminded of another time that I equally was in the same position. And I remember that I overcame that time. And so because I experienced overcoming, then to me, as someone that's logical and uh, reasonable, I felt that, okay, well, if that's the case, then I can also overcome this too. I don't know like what it's going to look like, but I've done it before and I'm still the same person, right? I'm still the same person. So let's just try it, and for whatever happens, like I know that I'm still living. So let's just try it and let's just overcome and let's just see. And at any moment, any time, if it wasn't for me, then I would just back out.
Oh, just taking a moment to process what you said reminds me of one of my new favorite words of the year. That's great. And I think you can relate to that. I know most, for listeners, most people who come from like a marginalized background or, you're a minority wherever in whatever country you live in, because in every country you've got you can be a minority. But if you're in the US, you can be a majority too. But you go to like the buyer or something and you really easily, if you're a minority to some extent, you understand what that means. And I think you just said kind of what you said just kind of sums up that because you talked about, hey, I failed and I was on this verge of failing as a sales manager at the time, a director. Yeah. Okay. And I want to pitch that sales manager and not meeting my goals and that you're already being questioned and you're thinking, oh, am I going to have my job? Can I even continue this? But you use and I assuming that you met your goals that next quarter, but okay. But then because you were talking about that I got through this, I can do it again. So just because the experience of that failure sounds like, well, what is fueling you forward right now? And I know that's a beautiful thought right there because many times we're so crazy, especially as women. God, like, what if I fail? What if I fall on my face? What am I going to do? And I'm going to be ashamed in front of the whole public and I'll be a disgrace to my family and my significant others and I'm not going to look smart to other people. And there's so many things that we start telling ourselves about how failure is so bad. And I think you just ripped that up into pieces right now. You created a whole new perspective about failure fuels you forward. Now, how does that resonate with you?
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. It definitely does. I'm proud of that. I like that a lot. Yeah. That should be a sticker or a t-shirt. Like you should be
Why don't you become stickers and t-shirts and all things we'll be producing now today, right? No, but yeah, that was pretty powerful. So you use that experience to get you up to sign up for this paralegal school, and then what happened? Tell us what happened when you were in paralegal school and starting this new season of your life, as you said.
Yeah, so I went to paralegal school, and so that was a little bit challenging, right? Because I still had the
Mm.
full-time sales job. And so at night, I would go um, I went to Fullerton College for
Mm-hmm.
my paralegal certificate. So for me, I'm very practical. So I found a program that was close by,
Mm-hmm.
that was affordable, that was doable with the confines of my current career,
Mm-hmm.
and it was also accredited. And so I felt that, if I can just get through this, it would also place me in
Mm.
the legal community. Um, I am the first in my family
Mm.
to pursue the law. So actually, most of my family are uh,
Okay.
healthcare professionals. So I did something completely different. And so I didn't really quite know anyone that was in the law. So I thought to myself, like, I think going to paralegal school, there may be lawyers, that because usually lawyers they direct like the paralegals and they go
Mm.
hand in hand with each other. And
So
so
let me pause you right there for 1 minute. Paralegal, what does a paralegal do? And so we're following the story correctly.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so basically paralegals, I kind of make the comparison as if they are the
Okay.
nurses to doctors. So they can file any kind of
Mm-hmm.
paperwork with the court system. They could assist as long as that the attorney is present. The only thing that they can't do
All
is
right.
be able to give advice.
That makes
So they're
sense.
basically the right hand of an attorney. They just can't
Okay. All
give
right.
advice.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So if you're like a certified nursing assistant, like the nurse would be like, if you talked about the healthcare perspective, sounds like okay, the paralegal is like a certified nursing assistant, and you got the attorney who's probably like the RN or a physician's assistant, and then you're the knowledgeable person in law here. So you tell me what example matches correctly, and then the actual like title, the person that's a lawyer would be like an MD, I guess, the doctor. Does that sound accurate to you?
I think we don't have
Oh,
the
okay.
title like the RN. We just have like paralegals, and then sometimes they can be
Okay.
accredited or certified, and then we have the attorneys. So it's
Mm.
kind of similar. Yeah, I wouldn't know. That's why I didn't.
Look at me coming in.
Anyone that's listening to this, like, yeah, I don't know too much about healthcare, that or math.
Oh, let's not go there now. Let's just keep it where it is.
Yeah, yeah, I was the runt, I guess. I didn't get that.
Well, let's nix
But
that healthcare stuff. Let's get back to the law. So, Karen Beagle was assistant to the attorney, and then when you went to, you were saying that you were building up more connections and your network, and to get to know some lawyers. And then what happened next?
yeah, so that happened, and I took a liking to all of my professors over at Fullerton College.
Mm-hmm.
I know the dean at
Mm-hmm.
that time; he's retired. Stephen Dayton was someone that I talked to a lot to see if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to pursue a legal career. He used to work at the DA's office, the district attorney's office, and then
Mm.
afterwards he practiced civilly, and then he went the academic route and became a professor for the paralegal
Okay.
school at Fullerton College. And I asked him all questions, what's it like? And, how's the work-life balance? Like, how's law school? And he kind of gave me some insight and some mentorship and into like what this field will look like
Mm-hmm.
without actually being in it. And then as soon as I graduated with my certificate, my professors were like, "What are you doing, Myla?" Just go to law school. It was almost like it was
Mm.
a crutch for me that I needed.
Yeah.
To confirm that this was the route that I was supposed to go on.
Mm.
Because uh, even though I had a purpose, even though I had
Mm-hmm.
vision of where I wanted to be, if I was completely being honest with you, um, I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
entirely sure. Maybe I was like 80%. And again, it's making a big investment because I already had an
Mm-hmm.
established career in sales. So I knew that if this wasn't going to work out in the law, then I
Mm.
was going to hit failure again. But I still remembered that I could
Yeah.
overcome. So I just, after paralegal school, started applying
Mm-hmm.
to law schools. And I told myself too, I was like,
Mm-hmm.
if I get in, that's a
Mm-hmm.
sign. I'm going to go for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I did just that. And as soon as I did that, like I got into law school and my other dreams.
I'm sure. And before we go there, how many schools did you even apply for, and how many rejections and how many acceptances did you get in the end?
Oh, so I was a little bit more practical than when I was doing so it's a little bit of a different scenario for me at least. And I actually, and this is for all of yours too, I actually
Oh
took a
wow.
5 year gap. So I was also considered a non-traditional
Okay.
law candidate. So I'm usually
So 5 years between paralegal school and law school?
uh 5 year gap between like getting your bachelor's
Oh, okay, okay.
going to law school. So technically, you don't really need to go to paralegal school, just because that's its own kind of
Mm.
profession in and of itself. But for me, I kind of used it as like kind of like a like a like a
Oh.
hug or guiding way for me
Mm-hmm.
to go into law school. So it's like you're gonna be okay, Myla, like you'll
Mm-hmm.
be fine, type of thing. Um, but yeah, so I was a non-traditional candidate, so it
Mm-hmm.
was about like 5 years. So yeah, so I just applied to law school, and um, that was
Mm-hmm.
also very interesting experience because I had no idea what I was getting myself into. But
Oh man. Well, thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like that you applied to a selected few schools and you got in and to the ones you wanted and you had a choice and it was like, well, I'm gonna take the first one that I get accepted to, right?
yeah, so I was practical, and I knew I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to stay in the area, so in Southern California
Mm-hmm.
in the Inland Empire. And so I kind of casted my net that way. I think I applied I think if I can't remember, I want to say I applied maybe to
Mm-hmm.
5 schools, and I think I got into I think four of them. I think I didn't get into one
Mm-hmm.
school. So I was very practical this
Okay.
time around, and I was again looking for
Mm-hmm.
something that was affordable,
Mm-hmm.
something that was accredited, and some place that was
Okay.
close by to where I was living, and also a place of community. So that's why I chose
Well,
the
all
university.
of that makes great sense that you would want to stay nearby and you got more acceptances than I think you were even expecting. I mean, 4 out of 5, that's a pretty good hit rate right
Yeah.
there, and you were in sales, you didn't even come on, like that's amazing. You just like low
Yeah.
key that one and
Thank
like
you.
you
Thank
need to
you.
celebrate that one. Four out of
Thank you
five.
so
That's
much.
that's fantastic right there. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Like man.
yeah, no, it's yeah. It was yeah. I remember that moment too, like getting the emails, and
Mm-hmm.
it was exhilarating to know that, somebody like me could
Mm.
go to law school. And it brought back a lot of, I guess, for lack of a better word, like healing to those times where I
Mm.
did feel intimidated when I was pursuing my bachelor's degree. And even though I had no idea where this was going to take me, I felt that I overcame just by just getting
Absolutely.
accepted to, like, because these institutions, these academic institutions,
Mm-hmm.
they believed in
Mm-hmm.
me. So I felt really really honored
You know,
to continue my
I'm
journey.
going to challenge that message you just told yourself. Are you open to a challenge? You tell me.
Yeah.
Took a while to say something, huh? Myla, I don't think that academic institutions believe in you. I believe the opportunity was always there, but it's just that you started to believe in yourself for the first time. And that's why you got this opportunity at this time in your life.
Mhm.
Now, had you tried earlier instead of going through the paralegal route, I'm so confident that you would have gotten into 4 out of 5 or even more than that at that time too.
Yeah.
But it's not that they don't believe in you, it's you didn't believe in you. And that's why you got it. So, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah. And I think you're yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I think like and everybody has their own journey. But for me, I think like I needed that
Mm-hmm.
tangible experience for me to get it, right? And I don't know what everyone else is at in their journey, but for me, um, I needed to physically see
Mm-hmm.
that I could overcome. Um, and that would give me the
Yeah.
encouragement to keep on going. But you're absolutely right. Like till this day, if you had asked me, would you do it again how you did it? And I would say yeah, because I needed to
Mm.
build my character. I'm a big believer that we need to build character before we get into our next
Mm-hmm.
place in our journey. Because if we don't build our character, then we're gonna be um, we're gonna end up having this feelings of imposter syndrome. It's not gonna match. We have the desire to do this
Mm-hmm.
or be at this place, but if we haven't built character yet, then we're just gonna feel like we're not ready, or we're gonna try to catch up, or we're gonna have a tendency to kind of be like others around us and not be ourselves. So I
Mm-hmm.
needed the journey,
Mm-hmm.
even though it was
Oh,
long.
don't get me wrong here. Don't get me wrong at all. Like I wasn't trying to imply that you made a wrong decision or anything. It was all about trying to re-emphasize that others don't matter. What you think about yourself and what you believe about yourself is what matters. And that's what I was trying to hone in on. Like absolutely 100%. We all have our journeys and we're all gonna have different experiences, but many people think like success is like a straight road. You know what I mean? Like success is a
Yeah.
winding road. Sometimes you got to take a high road or a longer route or a bumpier route, whatever it is. Everyone's path is different. And it's not about when you get there, it's about who even knows if you're going to live, who's even going to see tomorrow. And what you just mentioned through your story, to me, and what I was hearing from it wasn't about the time for you. It was all about the destination. Like, I'm going to pursue this law thing. And as long as I'm going to wake up the next morning, I'm going to go do Myla and I'm going to go to work hard and I'm going to do whatever it is that I need to do to make sure I take everything in my control to make this thing happen. I didn't hear you even talk about, oh, I need to get this done in this much time. But many of us kind of play around with that. We plan with that. And you didn't even put that limit on yourself. And that goes back to the other thing that I believe is, you're your only limit. And I think you just broke that into pieces right there, that you're no longer your only limit, Myla. But you still have more to go.
And there's still
Yeah,
there's still more to go. There's still more to go.
yeah. So there's still more to go. So what's next for you, Myla? What else are you dreaming about that you're just working to make happen and not waiting to make happen?
Yeah, now that I'm like kind of on the it's kind of strange. Like really, it's even like, I've been practicing law for it's gonna be almost like 4 years now. And it's still
Mm-hmm.
surreal that I'm here, because before I could never see myself
Mm-hmm.
here, and now we're here. And sometimes we get so focused
Mm-hmm.
on the journey sometimes that we don't have a lot of hope into what it may
Mm-hmm.
look like on the other side. But since I'm
Yeah.
here, you know, really like you mentioned, like it's really sky's the limit, now that I've, experienced one of the toughest, I think, challenges that I've had to experience in like my
Mm-hmm.
academic and professional career. I I'm looking, to possibly,
Mm-hmm.
become partner one day, either at my law firm or a different law firm. I have such a heart for mentoring other
Mm-hmm.
attorneys and students. That's why I'm really involved. I came back to the school and created
Oh,
this
it's awesome.
association along with
Mm-hmm.
my other colleagues. And I don't know. I'm just kind of just taking it all in. Like I think at this point, before I was so like
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, like so planned, like I got to do it, this
Mm-hmm.
many years or whatnot. But right now, at this stage in my life, I'm just kind of like taking a step back, actually moving a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more slowly than before, and just kind of see like what satisfies me, like what do I enjoy, and how do I make life and the most out of it. Like I'm just really like trying to enjoy
Oh,
life now.
that's really nice. And that's beautiful. And another great reminder there that, you've got to slow things down sometimes. I mean, a New Yorker will tell you firsthand, like, no, you got to move fast. You got to speed things up. You got to keep moving. Like, you're going from apartment to the grocery store and, you got to move fast. Otherwise, people run you over. You can't even take a breather, Like,
Yeah.
there's not much value in just stopping to slow down if you live in that part of the world. But, whew, like, what you just said was like a good reminder. and recalibrating and then moving forward at that pace, you decide what's right for you in that given moment. And what a beautiful reminder that was. And on that note, when you're talking about joy and figuring everything out, what do you really like doing and when you're just slowing down? Let's talk a little bit about that outside of your work. And you have this passion for service too, mentorship. So tell us about what inspired you to work with the elderly unsheltered and the battered women and marginalized communities when you were growing up. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I always felt that, growing up, I always had a heart, for people. I love people. Um, the good, the bad, the ugly. I really am empathetic to their challenges, their issues. I think it's mostly because like I also came from some of these areas too. And so I I always love to be able to help others try to achieve their goals too, you know. Um I had some mentors throughout like growing up, but not a lot. And so I think someone once told me, I can't remember, but if they said that if you didn't receive it,
Wow.
then you should become, right? And so I told myself that
I'm stealing that one, by the way. You can continue, but sorry.
you're still
Drop her there.
lots of stickers, right? Stickers and t-shirts. Oh, you're fine. No, but it's true. I always felt like, okay, if I didn't get something in my life, then I'm gonna be that person, and hopefully, that's just because it exists, that means that the world's just so much of a better place than like yesterday. So I just kept on with that. And so I really had a passion for, foster children and mentoring them. And even with the elderly back in college, I used to, just hang out with them. There's lots of organizations out there to be able to give your time. And to me, like time is so valuable. It's worth more than a lot of things that we as consumers like purchase. Time is something that we can't get back.
No, not at all.
Really cliche, but it's very true, and as we're moving forward, as we're like getting older, and especially as someone that's, getting more mature in life, I'm realizing that
Absolutely.
our time is so valuable and what we spend and what we do is so important to us. And spending time with family or spending time with these organizations, like it really brings fulfillment. It brings you purpose and it changes you. Like it changes your heart, right? And I believe in like a higher power, and I believe that, we're all called to, help others. Like, we're part of community, and we should really strive to like help.
Wow. That was really heartwarming and human filled what you just shared. And it just reminded me of a conversation I had with somebody that this person works as an executive human resources. And every time I talk to them, I'm like, you know what? You put the human in human resources, like literally, like you were meant to do this work. And I know so many people in human resources are like, well, they don't even know like basic human decency anymore. Like, where's the kindness? And when you talk about corporate world and going to get a drink at McDonald's, there's no customer service, there's no politeness, there's no respect, and it's just like a rare gift when you meet someone that speaks to you nicely because they genuinely care. And I always felt that you were that person, Myla. And we didn't talk about this, but my aunt and I, Myla and I, met back in UCI, and we went to college together. Oh, Myla, well, I didn't have many mentors growing up, and Myla, I think, was more of an informal mentor to me. And she was a year older than I was in college, and you were way ahead. And I would say that I don't know her actual age here, but she was like my mentor, and I never thought about it that way. And I didn't even know what a mentor meant. Never heard the word, but I always thought of her as like this guiding light. And it's so true that you don't get it, but if you don't receive it, you should become, because I have that similar path right there. And we didn't have mentors growing up. Probably had, I don't know, actually, probably had my first mentor in 2019 when I was doing my MBA. And that was when I was like, well, how do I even find one of these people? Like, I remember I had made so many different mistakes to get one, and it was embarrassing. We talk about that later, guys. I'll say that's a little conversation, but it's hard when you have to learn about something like that. And as you mentioned, learning about law and all, starting over. And when you talk about learning about law or finding a mentor, it's like the hardest thing when it's new and you're kind of like expected to do it at this age bracket or that experience bracket, and you have no idea how to do it. It's like you feel like, man, I failed. Like we both did it. And when you learn from those failures, they actually do fuel you forward. They give you the passion like Myla has and I have. And for Myla, it's serving others. For me, it's serving the community through this coaching gig that I got here. And it's just,
Yeah.
it becomes part of you. It's not just something that Myla enjoys, it's who she is. It is part of her identity, y'all. So it's a piece of you. A piece of you is with us now, Myla, and I really appreciate that. It's a real, you guys got a real gem here. And Myla, thank you so much. You're a great person to have in our lives, and so if you're lucky to tap into her LinkedIn or however you're able to connect with her, she's offering up that. Let's see if she's a real gem, and let's see what she says towards that again. Myla, you ready to connect with some of these folks here? Oh, would you like to add anything more, should I mention, before we move on to the next question?
Yeah, it's so funny because just the other day, I think on Monday, a young man asked me to do an informational interview to
Mm-hmm.
talk about the legal career. And, you know, I think if there's anyone out there that's already in their profession,
Mm-hmm.
I encourage you to do that. Just spend like 30 minutes talking to like
Mm-hmm.
our next generation because like, Rihanna
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that we may not get those opportunities and you become that opportunity for
Mm-hmm.
this younger generation and it means so much to
Mm-hmm.
them. It really does. Like I feel like if I had that those mentors that surrounded me and that encouraged me, helped me kind of just dissect
Mm-hmm.
my journey, I probably could have, although I love my journey, I probably could have done
Yeah.
some things a little bit differently. But everything is always,
Yeah.
worked out for good.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, so I just feel like, just try, I really liked, what you said about like, it's really hard to, find like kindness or, being nice to someone. I think
Yeah.
that goes a long way too. So like everyone should
Absolutely.
strive to do this.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely need more of that. And just a side note, I feel like you're one of the nicest people that I've met, at least in the US. And, the people I've met are so kind in Houston. You know,
Oh my goodness, I was talking about social going to Texas too. Like I think it was like this morning. Oh yeah, this was
no
before.
way.
And I was talking to another colleague who I'd never met before, and we were talking about California. And I was like, "Have you been to Texas?" And she was like, "Yeah, like I was just visiting."
Yeah, good. Seriously, man, like the nicest people are in Texas. You gotta take a visit there if you've never been there sometime.
No, but I probably will. But yeah, I think I just overheard
Oh,
talk
okay.
about
All right.
Texas, so I just changed.
Yeah, for I thought you said you went there. So, but man, my husband and I actually, accidentally went there, and it was like a place that we were there, and we're like never gonna choose to live there or anything. But we got my husband got his first job there,
Yeah,
and I was doing some graduate work, and we moved there and lived there for some time. And
yeah,
because we were there for longer than we were expecting, I did an MBA, and that's why I did the graduate work. And man, like that's like our new home, like this place, we knew that as soon as we get the opportunity, we were like, oh man, we're gonna get out of here. And I've heard so many people say like Houston's home, and I'm like, and when I was in my MBA, I'm like, that's crazy. What you talking about? Like, there's anything good here. And I'll kid you not. I never thought I'd say these words, but as I mentioned earlier, I miss Houston, and Houston is home for me. So if y'all haven't been to Texas, you gotta check out Houston. And I literally miss the floods. I miss the experience with everyone pulling arms together, like helping each other out, like toughing it out. Literally, Houston lives like that Southern hospitality to the fullest. And y'all, Houston is home for sure. And Myla, if you ever get a chance, you gotta get yourself out of Houston, man. It's a wonderful place. And the people are just amazing. Like I can talk about Texas all the time, but let's leave it at there right now. But oof, wow. I Don't mess with. There's that saying like, "Don't come here. Don't mess with what we got." Like, there's this thing, "Don't mess with Texas." You know, we got some real special people there, and if you don't know about Texas, yeah, check it out. And as we wrap up today, I'm all about creating happiness for people in their life, and whether they're trying to be happier in their career, like find happiness, and you have found happiness in yours. I'm so happy for you, and you're trying to make your life even better than what it is now, and having better relationships with themselves, and finding purpose, and having better relationships with others, whatever that means to you. You know, let's make sure we create more happiness in our life. So my question for you today, Myla, how do you create happiness in your life?
You know, I don't think about it. I just
I
do.
think you got another sticker coming.
You know, like going back to, earlier in this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy dancing, I enjoy the arts, and I like right like I would never in a million years think that, I would be 35 years old and perform in a ballet this past June. And literally all that occurred was I was walking down the street with my ice cream in
Mm-hmm.
Claremont, California, and I was taking a stroll and I saw this dance studio. They were doing ballet. I'd taken ballet when I was younger in high school, but I never continued it. Instead, I did
Okay.
hip hop dancing. But I I was just fascinated by it, and I saw that they were offering
Mm-hmm.
some adult classes, and I just said, "Let's
Wow.
do it." And then from there, I just went and I was happy enough to be around a lot of great people who love to dance, who
Mm-hmm.
um, were all about community and we're just about the love of dance. And so my advice is really just don't think about it, just
Wow.
do. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. Like, you'll find something else. Like, and if you can remember those times where it didn't work out,
Mm-hmm.
but you still overcame, hold on to those.
You
Because
know,
that's what's gonna
that's so beautiful. Thank you so much. And it sounds like you create happiness by doing, not just doing,
yeah.
but doing dance. And that really brings you a lot of joy and love in your life. And wow, I just saw your face light up. Like really, like it, I didn't appeal to it, but when you were talking about it, you started ballet and you were
Yeah.
doing your recital and you were talking about that much in conversation. I saw a clear change in your face and you could see how much joy you were exuding.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And you know, when you're watching this recording, you can even take a look at it and see how much you really lit up and how much that light came out of you. And it was beautiful to see that unfold. And I know we're coming to the end of our time together in this conversation, and I wanted to ask you one more thing. I just remembered. It's the world is Formula E, and you know I just talked about it because someone yesterday mentioned Formula One. So tell us about Formula E and why you got interested in that.
Oh my goodness, I'm so glad that you brought that up. So right now, Formula E is basically
Okay.
like Formula One, but it's more for
Oh.
electronic vehicles. It's right now actually holding the title as the fourth largest motorsport, right in front
Oh
of
wow.
actual NASCAR. And I just really enjoy the aspect of being able to use technology and racing and combining it together. Another thing is they emphasize a lot of sustainability. So we have a lot of regenerative braking. Um, if you're unfamiliar with Formula One can tend to be a little bit noisy. That does not occur in Formula E racing. And we also have these
Wow.
vehicles go super fast. I think like in 1.62 seconds. I'll have to recheck that configuration. These vehicles can go from 0 to 60
Wow.
miles per hour. And there's so many vehicles. They're all on this like track. It's very exhilarating. It's very exciting. Actually, this past January, went to Mexico City to actually watch one of Formula E racing event, and it blew me away. Like I think this is
Mm-hmm.
the new way of racing, as we can see with our electronic cars, our hybrid cars. And so I think it's great for the planet, and I hope everyone gets the opportunity to kind of just watch Formula E racing. It's not plug in, but I just really enjoy.
So when's the next one? When's the next one coming up if you're plugged into that?
Yeah, so the new season
Mm-hmm.
starts like next year. I believe it's starting in, I want to say it's starting in Brazil. Can't quote me on this one, but then they go to different areas around the world. So they'll go to Mexico City, they'll go to Berlin, they'll go to Tokyo,
Mm-hmm.
they'll go to Dubai. So it's just like Formula One racing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not as big.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's getting there.
Okay.
So it's
All right. Well, thank you for sharing about that. It's really interesting. I'm glad you brought that up.
yeah.
You know, it's a new plug for me. A new new plug for me. And now for listeners, let me bring it back home. What's one piece of wisdom you would like to share with listeners today before we close it out,
Yeah.
Myla?
Yeah. Wow, one piece of wisdom. There's just so many.
Well, we unpacked a lot today, right?
Wow, you just gotta pick one? Okay.
You can pick one more.
All right.
You can pick one. All right. All right.
What?
You call it out. All right.
No, yeah, we'll do the
All
one.
right.
We'll do the one. We'll do the one. So I really think at the end of the day, trust yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, trust yourself. Like, you know yourself well, and even if like you've gone through,
Okay.
rough patches in life, like trust yourself that like you can get through. And
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
just trust yourself.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. What a nice, concise way to sum up all that wonderful wisdom that you shared with us today. And it sounds like that's what it's all about. Like you have to title this show "Just Trust Yourself." That's a great title to title this up.
Yeah, that's it. Have another feature. Like, work is coming out, right?
You know, that's right. That's right. It's coming. It's coming. You know, happy coach. Yeah, happy coach Myla. All right. Well,
Thank you.
any last things you want to share before we close it out today? I wanted to give you a chance to do that.
I want to mention to everybody too that Rihanna's awesome. Like, I think you all know that, and that's probably why you're tuning in. But just to, she talked a lot about me, like during our college experience. But man, I think about the
No. We can't do that.
that yes, I've seen, her grow, and to be able to be here today and to be able to speak with her and just to see what she's doing and how amazing with, her business and how many people she has coached, like that's truly admirable. And I'm just so honored. And honestly, I usually don't do these speaking engagements, but when she called me up and when she was like, would you be willing to do it? I was like, absolutely, I would do it. Like, no problem. Like, sign me up. So you all are in great hands with her. And
Wow, you're gonna bring me to tears, man. Thank you so much. And by the way, that was not planned. That was not scripted. That was totally
so,
and just so you know, that didn't like pay my own thing on the side table here, but oh, thank you so much, Myla. That was really kind, like really truly kind. All right, y'all. That's a wrap. Let's wrap this thing up for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.